We are going to be recording this webinar so that we can distribute it to those who are unable to join us this afternoon. And it'll also be a reference for people to be able to use when they're learning how to create an account on Anecdata and upload their observations as well. So I just want to start with saying welcome to everyone, and to the volunteers who are returning from being volunteers in the past. Thank you for continuing to work with Coastal Signs of the Seasons. And to those of you who may be new volunteers, it's great to have you. Thank you for being a part of it. Our program couldn't be successful without all of the support and dedication of our volunteers. So it's really wonderful to have you here with us today, and we appreciate you. So just a couple of quick introductions. My name is Elizabeth Maxwell. I am the assistant coordinator. I started working with Signs of the Seasons the beginning of this year. And you may have been getting some emails from me recently about different news and updates on webinars and things that we've been having. If you haven't been seeing any of those, then definitely let me know. And I wanted to be sure to mention that if you have questions at any point in time, you're always welcome to reach out to me by email, and we can schedule a time to talk on the phone, or I'll try to answer your questions however I can. I also wanted to introduce Esperanza and Beth. Esperanza is joining us this afternoon. They are the project co-coordinators. They're the real driving force behind Signs of the Seasons, and we're the ones who got it started in the very beginning and have kept it going over the years. And then also I want to welcome Duncan Bailey, who is the systems developer at MDI Biological Laboratories. And he is the person who's our go-to for Anecdata. And in a few minutes, I'm going to be turning the webinar over to him, and he's going to be doing a walkthrough of Anecdata and giving us some background about it. So just to give you a little bit of a sense of what we're going to be talking about this afternoon, all of you are already familiar with Coastal Signs of the Seasons, but I'm going to give you just a really quick kind of highlights just to refresh your memory on a few things, and explain why we're so excited about this new partnership that we have with Anecdata, and what we think it will be able to allow us to do that we haven't been able to do in the past. And then at that point, I'm going to turn things over to Duncan, and he's going to give a little bit of background about Anecdata. He's going to explain how to set up a site, set up an account on the site to go and find our project on Anecdata, and then give kind of some demo on actually using the data sheets online. There is also a phone app that you can download, so he's going to demo what that looks like and how it's how it works in comparison to the actual website. And at the very end, we're going to have time to be able to work through any questions that you might have. So you may have already found the chat box here in Zoom. If you haven't, then we'll take a moment when it comes that time to kind of help you find that. If you're joining by telephone, which I think it looks like everyone's on their computer, which is good because then you can use the chat box. But if you need to use, you need to ask verbally, then we can make it available as well. So this is kind of the roadmap for what we're doing this afternoon. Just a couple of kind of highlight things about Coastal Signs of the Seasons. It got started in 2014 through a partnership with Jesse Mullen, who is a professor at Maine Maritime Academy. In 2014, we had about 10 different volunteers who were making observations along the coast. And it's really grown since then to over 20 different volunteers in 2017 making observations in both Maine and New Hampshire. So Coastal Signs of the Seasons is focused on Ascophyllum nodosum, and It's really great that we have such a wide spread of observations happening. The map that you're seeing on your screen right now with the little yellow pins are the site locations of observations in 2017. So that's a really nice spread along the coast of data that we're getting in. And we're really excited because just so far in 2018, we've already trained we've trained 23 new volunteers just this year. So the program is really growing, and it's exciting to see how we're adding new sites and new people are getting involved and continuing to make observations on this species. And just as a quick side note, Jesse actually did a webinar with us last year, and that had been recorded, so it's available on our website. And when I send a follow-up email, I'll remember to include that link there. Also, if you haven't seen it, it's a great resource on the research that she's doing on Ascophyllum. And so all of the data that has been collected since the beginning of coastal signs of the seasons, we were using SurveyMonkey to be able to upload the observations. And it's, as a site, it's a little bit cumbersome to use, and it also didn't have the functionality to allow the observers and you, the volunteers, to actually be able to go back and view the data that you were contributing to. And so that's part of why we're so excited to be moving into this partnership with Anecdata, is because the site has a lot of flexibility for us to be able to create data sheets and adapt data sheets as we grow. And it also has the function where you can go in and view what you've contributed and also see what kind of data has been collected by other observers across the state, and to play with that a little bit and actually do some basic analysis to see what kind of patterns are happening. If you're interested in doing that, that's available, and that's something that can happen. So it's really, really cool to see this transition into this new site. And that's why we're really excited about having you all here today, is because we get to kind of do a launch and share our excitement with everyone. So it's really cool. And so at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to let Duncan start sharing his, and he'll be able to go through and give a little bit of background about Anecdata and also introduce us to the site. So Duncan, take it away.
Okay, and here we go. And I don't think I'm muted. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Very good. All right, so I'm Duncan Bailey. I'm a systems developer at the MDI Biological Laboratory, and I've been working here since 2013 as part of the community lab. And recently I've moved on into the education department as well, where I build systems for our education department. Lots of online class spaces and that kind of thing. But I'd like to talk a little bit first about our community lab and a lot of the really cool work that we do. Let's see, how do I do this? Oh, there we go. So you see there on the upper left, that's the community lab. We do all kinds of water quality monitoring there. We do swim beach monitoring as part of the Maine Healthy Beaches program. We also look at phytoplankton, looking at red tide indicators, for example. In the upper center there, you'll see one of our volunteers, Alan, and a bunch of our interns. And what we do is we engage members of the public in real science, gathering data for basically to help decision makers, most of all. Whether, for example, whether you close a fishery or whether you close a swim beach, and stuff like that. We've also done a lot of work around eelgrass, and you'll see in the lower right there, there's all these funny grid-looking things. And so what we've been doing is we've been working to monitor and restore eelgrass across the state of Maine. Bear with me, there's a connection. Okay, and I click. There we go. So this is what eelgrass looked like in Frenchman Bay in 1996, just north of Bar Harbor. There's all these nice, lush eelgrass beds that were there. Well, when I came on in 2013, there was a sudden development. Eelgrass had pretty much disappeared in Frenchman Bay, and we didn't know what the cause of this was. And so we looked online for all kinds of different solutions that we could use to crowdsource data on eelgrass across the state of Maine. And we didn't really find much. We found a lot of sites where you could gather data on the positive presence of something, but nothing really for the negative presence of anything. And so basically over the course of a weekend, I looked up a really quick and dirty website called eelgrassinmaine.org. It doesn't exist anymore for gathering data on eelgrass. And at the end of that season, we decided that really what we needed was something that was much more comprehensive, that would power all of our projects and would potentially power other people's projects. So what is Anecdata? Anecdata is a platform for crowdsourcing scientific data. This is being used by 90 projects right now. One of our biggest projects going on is in South Carolina, where they've been looking at beach debris across the state. It's also being used, for example, by Massachusetts Audubon. It was used by Schoodic Institute at Acadia National Park to look at snowbanks and how snow builds up and disappears over the course of a winter. And it's also being used right now by Washington and Gulf of Maine king tides to look at how these astronomical high tides can predict what the oceans might look like with future sea level rise. So here's how Anecdata works. Anybody can join Anecdata and set up an account, and you can either create a project, so you design what your project page looks like, you design metrics and data sheets, and you set up optionally places where you want people to be collecting data. This is what Elizabeth has done. Or you can just join and immediately start participating in projects. So you can share your data readings, your photos, your species observations, your written reports. And this is something that everybody can immediately map, graph, and download. It's really cool. And of course, we've also got a mobile app. And we just released our version 2.0 of the app, which is really cool because you can actually share your observations. Well, you can save your observations even if you're outside range of cell service, and then you can upload those observations later. And so yeah, right now we've got a team of 4 behind Anecdata. Here I am on the left. We've also got Dr. Jane Disney, Ashley Taylor, and Anna Farrell, who are some of our community lab coordinators. And so now I'd like to take everybody on a little spin through the anecdata.org website, and we are going to set up an account on Anecdata. And if anybody's got on a computer right now, they might even be able to follow along and create an account of their own. So let's see, let me figure out screen sharing here. And I've got this, so I need to, there we go, anecdata.org, share screen. So here we go, this is the anecdata.org main page. And so to start an account, you can just click right here, sign up now, or you can also click register in the upper right. Ta-da! Pick a username. So I'm going to pick one that's called ASCOFILM. Seaweed. And email address, I'm going to do ascofilm@example.com. How did you find out about Anecdata? I'm going to say signs of the seasons. And password is going to be ta-da, there we go. And so I filled out username, my actual name, email, how I found out about Anecdata. You don't have to fill that out, by the way. And also I created a password. Create an account now. And whoosh, we're in. And right now, you'll see here notifications. You don't have any notifications yet, but you can click over here to my projects. You don't have any projects yet. Find one to join or start one now. So I'm going to click Find More Projects. And you can also just click the projects item there up on the toolbar. And here's our list of projects. And so here we don't have to scroll too far down, but you can just type in SOS in search, and you'll find it Coastal SOS Monitoring. So we'll click on that. And here we go. We'll see there's Elizabeth Maxwell and Albatross, who are the project leads for this project. We've got some information about how to participate, et cetera, et cetera. Observations. Here's a list of recent observations. And you can also see, for example, a list of all the members. And hey, there's Duncan Daly. So this is a project where you have to request to join. And so when you request to join, one of the project administrators gets a notification asking them to if it's okay. So ta-da, there we go. Membership pending approval. And actually, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to approve myself. Oh, come on. I'm going to scroll down. Ta-da. And so ta-da. And now, when I click the home here, we'll see that actually I was just approved. And so now I'm in. And so once you're approved, instead of seeing a request to join button, you'll see an add an observation button right here. And so what you can do is you can just click that, and it will ask you which procedures you want to do. So in this case, you've got one data sheet, which is for rockweed procedures A and B, and another data sheet for rockweed procedures B and C. So we're going to click A and B. And so right now here, you might see that it's automatically detected where I am. Here I am right on the northern side of Mount Desert Island. Sometimes it doesn't, and in that, for some reason, you might not have access to geolocation services. And in that case, you'll want to click on the snap, and you can drag it around to exactly where you are. So maybe I'm actually looking at rockweed right up here, up in Northeast Creek. Ta-da, and there we go. And so observation time. So you can take this two different ways. You can say, for example, you can click this green button here, and it gives you a calendar, and it gives you a little clock that you can pick the time at. Or another thing you can do is you can just type in today at 8:54 a.m. And it will understand that. And you'll see here that the observation time is actually automatically recognized. And so now you can fill out your data sheet. How many new side branches did you see? How many smooth and inflated receptacles did you see? Et cetera, et cetera. All this information on fetal phase data. Then you can fill information in on the tidal stage, comment on the site, what was the water temperature, what was the salinity, and then add additional comments on the water quality data. You can also click this button here to add photographs if you'd like. And so we're going to add one. I'm actually just going to upload a screenshot of the app because I don't really have much else better right now. And we're going to say test data. And here we go. So we can actually view this. And maybe it didn't like the file I uploaded. Anyway, so we can click over to Coastal SOS Monitoring, and we'll see here, for example, this is all the observations people have made. And you can actually, when you're viewing your observation, you can actually click and edit that if you like. So if you've got any changes you want to make to your observation, you can do that there. And what else? And of course, administrators can also modify your observations if for some reason there was something that needs to change. And they can also comment on your observation. So for example, here we go, DEI kids. You can actually comment, for example, hey, you know, I'm not quite certain about the time of that. You know, that time of year ascophyllums really shouldn't be exhibiting that kind of phenophase. So that's pretty much it for creating a project on Anecdata. Hold on, let me go and bring up Zoom here and see if we've got any comments. And if we don't have any more comments, then we're going to switch over and check out what it looks like on that.
Duncan.
Sure.
Yeah, it's Esperanza here. Can you just show what the procedure C looks like?
Procedure sheet C, sure. Just a moment.
Yeah,
Let's go back in here.
You can show that to folks too. Thanks.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so we're back on. And so we're going to go back to the Coastal SOS Monitoring Project. And so now we can click on Add an Observation again. And then this time, instead of clicking A and B, this time you can click B and C. Ta-da. And so B and C is a little bit different. This is the one where we're going to be looking at the tide stage on water quality. Again, just like we did for procedures A and B. And then we're also going to be looking at the plants that you've got. So for example, you're going to be looking at plants, you're going to be looking at 10 plants overall. So for example, plant number 1, let's say that this plant is 18 years old and its stage of reproduction is smooth and inflated. And so now you're going to be counting in between the nodes on the plant, trying to figure out the amount of growth in between each node. So we can start to look, it's kind of like well, you all already know this, but it's like looking at the rings on a tree. So we might have, for example, 7 centimeters from 2017, 2018, 5 centimeters from 2016, 2017, 6 centimeters, and so on and so forth. And so once you're done with plant number 1, you can go down to plant number 2 and do the same thing. Plant number 3, et cetera, going through the entire list of plants that you have to do. And then optionally, if you have any questions about the site, for example, you might add a photo, you might add a little bit of additional information about the site, and then you can click Save. Ta-da! We're done for now. And here we go. And so this here is the observation we just made, and see all these columns going on. And so we can look at, for example, plant number 1, 7, 5, 6, et cetera. And this is really cool because the way we're capturing this data about the plants, we can actually we can start to ask questions like, okay, so plants that were smooth and inflated, what was their average size for 2017 to 2018? Or you can start to look at the relationships between, okay, plants that grew really well in this year, well, how did they grow in this other year? And start to plot that all out. I think another important thing is to know how to download your data, because it's really cool to be able to see it online, but I think it's also important to be able to download it if you want to. And so you can just click here, download, and you can zoom. And I just downloaded an Excel file of all the observations in this project. You can also pull that in, for example, as an ArcGIS shapefile, and you can also get that as a Google Earth file. And the Google Earth file isn't as useful as ArcGIS or Excel, but that's going to have, for example, your photographs and your field notes in it. And so if you want to do something really basic, if you're working with kids, for example, and you don't really want to get too down into the weeds with doing analysis, Google Earth can be pretty cool. And you can also map all of this online. So here, we're going to click this button here, View on the Map. And so that's going to take us over to the map on Anecdata. And so we can actually see here, for example, there were a couple observations. Here's one down on Great Wasp Island. And here we go. So this was actually one of the test observations that was made when everybody was setting up the project. Also, Let's see, my observations. Another thing is that when you go to the, when you click on Home at the top, and then click on My Observations, you can actually download all of just your observations. So if you want to get just an Excel of your data, you can do that as well by clicking on one of these buttons here. All right, any other questions?
Duncan, can I jump in really quickly?
Sure.
So we have a question from Colleen that I just wanted to bring up, where she has been trying to use her phone in outside, out and about, when she's actually making observations, and is having an issue with the brightness not being, or being difficult to view the screen because of it being really sunny. And so I was just responding back in the text, but I wanted to make sure everybody had a chance to think about that. And what I do for myself is I make sure that the brightness on my screen is as high as it will go in the phone settings. And sometimes that works, sometimes it isn't good enough. I also sometimes turn and try to use my torso to create some shade, so it's a little bit easier to see the screen. But yeah, I do know that when you're in the field and it is really sunny and you're using like an iPhone or something, sometimes that's just a challenge to work with. So just wanted to bring that up. Also, I wanted to quickly note to everyone that the website, the way that we set up the data sheets online, those are all designed to mimic the paper data sheets that you're already accustomed to using. So as you work down the paper data sheet, you should be encountering those questions in the same order when you go to use the online data upload. So just like if you in the past might have used SurveyMonkey, the layout is, or at least the order in which you answer the questions, that should basically be the same. It's just going to look a little bit differently because it is a new site. But like I said, the order that you encounter the different questions should be the same. So it's not new questions or anything like that. It's just a slightly different way of seeing them. So I just wanted to kind of bring that up and let everybody know. So.
Okay, cool. So now I'd like to take everybody on a little demo through the app. And again, about the screen brightness issue. That's certainly a concern. And one thing that we can do on our end is actually, for example, make text bolder. And I know that on some phones there's actually an ability, an option to do that. But that can also be a change that we can make on our end. Is potentially to enlarge the text on the data sheet in the app, so that things can be a little bit more visible when you're out and about in the sun. So anyway, what I did is I just downloaded the app from the iTunes store. You can also get it on Google Play if you're on an Android device. It should work almost exactly the same way. It should just look a little bit different. So here we go. We just open the app, and here's our splash screen, and we select to continue. And so you can do that. You can register the same way, enter your email address, your username, and set up a password. But I'm actually going to log right into the Ask a Film account that I just created. So I tap here. I already have an account, and ask a film at example.com, and password is, oh no, somebody's going to know my password. Uh-oh.
I think you use an
We're actually going to register a new one. I think I might have forgotten the password to my example account. So we're going to do ask a film 2 at. And I'm going to tap create your account. And whoosh, we're in. And I just got an email notification that there's a new user. Haha. And so you'll see here that this is a list of projects, and you'll see actually if you tap over to join, you won't have any projects you've joined yet. But we can scroll down a little bit, or you can just type in at the top SOS. Ta-da! And there we go. And I'm going to tap join. And now, again, I'm going to approve myself. And so now if I tap over to joined, haha, I've joined. And so this works much the same way, and it actually looks pretty similar to the page online. And so what we'll see here is you can tap on this little listy icon, and you'll see a list of all the observations that have been made. Tap on this little map icon, and here's a map of all the observations that have been made. And the gallery icon is where you would find all the pictures that people have shared, but nobody's shared anything yet. And so when I just tapped on observe there, it's just the same. It asks you which procedures you want to do. And so, for example, here's rockweed procedures A and B. And it's much the same way. It'll ask you how many new side branches did you see, how many smooth and inflated receptacles, and you can enter numbers. Tide stage, comments about the site, what's the water temperature, what's the salinity, do you have any more comments about the water data. And you can also actually add additional field notes at the bottom if you like, just like on the Anecdata website. And finally, at the bottom, on the toolbar at the bottom, there's an add a photo. And so you can actually take a photograph, or you can pick from a photo that you've already taken. And so what I'm just going to do is I'm going to tap save. And oh, this is right. That's what's going on there. This is actually a development version of the app that's not out yet. And so it just said error, database is destroyed. And so anyway, what we'll see here, let me go tap here. And so now we can do rockweed procedures B and C. So tap that, and we select it. And so now it's going to be wanting to know about the site information again. So what's your water quality like? And here, just like you would do on the website, you can enter your plant age, stage of reproduction, what's the length between all the different nodes. And you can do this for all the different plants. The one con, I would say, to doing this on a mobile device is that you're going to be taking your mobile device out into a salty area. And potentially, I could see it be a little bit clunky entering, probably, this is something like almost 200 data points from a mobile device. So that could be a little bit slow. Again, we're going to hit save.
That's a great point, Duncan. So the procedure A and B, which is the one where most people do that either in a weekly or a bi-weekly basis, that just has a handful of different questions. That might be the best option for if you are going out and using your phone or using your iPad in the field. But that's actually a really good point, is when you're doing that once a season procedure C, where you're actually making those measurements and aging the plants, it's a little bit more in depth, and so it might be a little bit more difficult to use this for that. So certainly, if you want to use the paper data sheet for the procedure C, and then go back and use the computer to input it later. And we can, if you do make a mistake or realize that you've made a mistake, I think Duncan already mentioned this, that we can go in and edit those observations after the fact. So don't panic if you realize that, oh, I might have accidentally saved something wrong or inputted for the wrong thing. We can work with that. So as long as you just let us know, and we can make sure that things are all what they need to be.
Yeah, so this is Esperanza.
Yeah.
Can I just make a point on that to really complete that thought that I have about if you are not sure of the phenophase and you go ahead and put it in on the app, you have to remember to try to send it to one of us to get the identification correct. And on a paper sheet, you can not put it in yet. So that's one of the advantages. I mean, I love apps, but that's one of the advantages to doing it on paper, just in case you're not quite sure what phenophase it's in. So.
And another option that you could consider is adding "not sure" as an option on the data sheet, and then you can and then if people share a photograph of the plant, for example, then that can help you as well.
Oh, that's a good option.
But yeah, so for example, yep. And so for example, here here's an observation that Askifel made, and because I'm a site admin, I can edit this, but so can you if this is your observation. You can click edit, and here we go. So here we go. Ascophyllum smooth inflated. Well, actually, it was dotted inflated, and you can update everything just like you would when you're filling it out in the first place, and then you can click save, and you're all set. And it should update right there. So let me go and check out the. Let's see. Checking in to see if there's any other comments, but I'm not seeing any. Or any other questions so far, or?
So if you haven't found your chat function, I'm not sure where it is on your screen, but it should be at the bottom in case you want to type in a question.
So maybe while people are typing in their questions, I just have a couple of things I want to reiterate really quickly. And that's your username. When you go to set up your account, does not have to be your actual name. You can use a nickname or a code name if you would prefer. You don't have to upload a photo. I did because I want all of you to know who I am and make it easy for you to recognize me, but you don't have to do that if you don't want to. Also, when you have a chance, either later this afternoon or in a couple of days, to go on and create an account, I'm going to be keeping an eye on the site. But if you want to just send me a really quick little email to let me know that you've requested to join, then I'll go in and I'll accept that request and make sure that you can access the project. And then, of course, like I said at the very beginning, you at any point in time, if you have a question about anything at all, you are always welcome to reach out by email or by phone, and make sure that your answers get questions get answered. Sorry. Okay. So I see that Valerie has asked that she has been recording no distances to the nearest 0.1 centimeters and is asking if she should round those to whole numbers. And I'll let Esperanza weigh in on that question.
Yeah, I think that's great. If you can do that, that is perfect.
Chat, here we go.
Okay.
Oh, now I can.
Question 3.
Will Anecdata B and C be entered more than once? You can enter as many B's and C's as you like into the Anecdata website. So, for example, if you were to do procedures B 10 times over, even if you wanted to, you could do that.
Okay, so the protocol is that if you can only do it once in a season, spring is best. But by all means, it's great to have it as many times as you're able to do it and want to. Also, that was the problem with SurveyMonkey. We could not have it, for some reason, it just wouldn't allow more times than, I guess, how it was set up. So this is wonderful, Duncan, that we're able to do this now.
Cool.
Yes, this will be great, Colleen.
Yeah. Well, if anybody, I also wanted to say that if anybody has any questions about using the app or using the Anecdata website, I am very happy to help out. And you can email me at dbailey@mdibl.org. I'm actually going to type this into the chat just in case anybody wants to copy and paste into their address book.
And I just want to thank everyone that's on the webinar today for participating, and certainly send us any questions that you might have.
Yeah.
And thank you very much, Duncan.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. I look forward to seeing all the results that come out of your project.
Great, me too. And thanks, Elizabeth, for setting this all up and for moderating. Thanks very much. Have a nice afternoon, everyone.
Okay, thank
You
you
too.
all.
Bye now.
Bye.